Well, good morning, and thank you guys for joining us. I really, I really appreciate that you guys are still with us. Just because we are not live does not mean that we are not doing anything. We are building and doing what is going to be the best for Vibe Talk. Thank you guys so much. Today we're talking about how thoughts impact you. And our question for today is, if life were a song, what would it be? What mood would it be today? What song would it be today? What would your song be for today if life were a song? I thought about rain because it's a little rain outside, summer rain, and raindrops keep falling on my head. That's the one I chose. Lines are open, 661 795 0475 is our text. And you can text there or leave your answers. And of course, our 1-888 721 9260. Welcome, Trish, and good morning. How are you?
Good morning, and I'm doing good today.
Good. We're happy to have you guys. And we're going to talk about how thoughts become impactful. And so we're going to go right into that. It is Think About Thursday. Think About Thursday is always very impactful, and we're asking questions, from simple questions to the better questions. And wherever you're listening, when you hear from us, do us a favor. Tell us where you're listening from. That's always fun to know that you guys listen on podcasts wherever you like on your favorite platforms. I want you to listen to this one. It's such a beautiful thing on our thinking. Let's see here.
Did you know that your thoughts have an enormous impact on your life? The law of attraction suggests that what you think and feel can actually attract positive or negative experiences into your life. Studies have shown that people who experience a lot of negative emotions are more likely to develop heart disease. On the other hand, people who have a positive outlook have a lower risk of developing hypertension. But you can harness the power of your thoughts for positive change. One way to do this is to practice mindfulness. This means paying attention to your thoughts and feelings without judgment, so you can become more aware of negative thought patterns and shift your focus to more positive ones. Another way is through gratitude. By focusing on the things you're grateful for, you can develop a more positive outlook and attract more positive experiences. So remember that by being mindful of your thoughts and intentionally focusing on the positive, you have the power to create a more fulfilling life for yourself. You got this.
Wow. That was powerful. Today may be a day that you're thinking in your thoughts, maybe just not as deeply. But some of our thoughts, many of our thoughts, can be very impactful for the good or for the challenging. And I want to talk about that because it's so important. It is so important to think about how life guides us through our thinking. Okay. We think about our life guiding us. We're shaped by how we think and feel, but today we're going to talk about the physical aspects of it. Okay, without being any doctors, this is not the idea of the conversation, but it is to bring awareness to our thoughts. When we think about happy thoughts and we think about stressful thoughts, they affect us. They impact us. Happy thoughts, how do you feel? It doesn't take rocket science to figure that out. You're happy. Your body level will show that. Okay. When you think about something happy, it feels like you are at a positive level versus when you think about, oh my goodness, I forgot to do that. Like this morning, I forgot to take the trash. I'll pull the cans out, the trash, so that the trash men could get it. And that was only one trash, and that was the yard, because we have a gardener that comes every 2 weeks. So I got a little stressed out about it, thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to have trash sitting here for a whole week. So instead of letting my brain do that, I just kind of walked down the street to see what the trash man had already picked up, and it, thank God, was not the trash. So I got that in time. The yard leaves and stuff, I'm okay with that. But I don't want a trash can full of trash and old food and things like that sitting for another week. Can't do that. So it caused me stress. So that's one impact. Now, when we think about things that have happened in our life, or before I go on, Trish, what's been your experience with your thinking? Because I thought I had missed the trash. I actually did, but he was only there to pick up I hadn't missed him coming around for the regular trash, just the garden trash.
So, my experience with my thinking is sometimes I can overthink and overreact because I'm so overwhelmed. For example, I forgot to put sugar in my coffee before I sat down, and we were like, we're gonna start at 10:30, and I didn't want to be late, so I just decided to not drink it at all and just come on and do it. And then I found out we still had time, so I went into the kitchen and I fixed that, and I had my coffee with me because I need my coffee to be calm and be in the present mindset when I'm on live or just doing something, so I can relax instead of feeling anxiety and jittery. So yeah, that's how my thoughts are running today.
Yeah. So I hope that it feels better, because sometimes I might say a time to come on. We don't have a specific time, guys, just so that if you're listening, if you are following us, okay, and this is where a lot of people are getting mixed up. If you're following us, then you know we're on live, okay? Let's just put it that way. Let me know you can text me, you can text, or you can text directly our line, our direct texting, and then our international line if you want to speak or if you want to come on today. So think about us. Think about the way that we are in thought. Every Thursday, we are in what is Think About Thursday. Not only thinking about today, but thinking about what you want to do. Because in one day, you might not be able to get done with what your goals are. You may be feeling as if there's not enough time to do something. Another factor about us, and I want to say this before I go into that, is as we're asking the question about impactful thoughts, are thoughts impactful? We're no doctors. We're simply just having a conversation about emotional and mental health. I am a certified life coach and counselor. Thank you. So when we think about healing, because we promote a lot about healing, but before you can heal, you need to understand your pain, what your levels of pain are, whether it be emotional, mental pain, physical pain. You need to find out how you can feel better. In fact, I was just in conversation with a friend just the other day, and we were talking about medicine and what we believe works for us. And again, we're no kind of doctor. So I like to use a lot of herb things because herbs were used years ago. But if it gets serious enough, I'm going to get the medicine that can actually help me. But herbs, I find they really do work because they were using it in ancient times. And so because of me believing that, like with my blood pressure, I have high blood pressure. And I take an herb for that, but I don't recommend anybody else to do it because your health is your health. But see, that's the way I feel. That's the way I think. Okay, because some of you might have the same conditions I have and say, oh, well, the host of Vibe Talk, they said to do this or try that. I always say be very knowledgeable about what you are taking. Don't just take it because someone says. My mom has always taught me that. Don't just take anything, read about it. And so I'm in the habit of reading to know about my body. And that's what we are. I've talked Facing the Lion podcast. It's always the connection to you knowing about your body when you're not feeling well, when your thoughts need to be changed. There's nobody that can do a better job than yourself doing your own work. So I said that to say that when I think about healing and pain, it makes me feel good to know that, I'm a believer in herbs. What about you, Trish?
I am too. I'm not a what do you say? An antibiotic kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
But I am a herbal person. I love eating. I rather eat right than take a pill. I rather drink the tea, the herbal tea first. Like that's me. And but if I do need to, if the doctor recommends, I do what the doctor says. That's me.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So if anyone's listening to this, I suggest that you replay because we don't want anybody saying, well, you said this and you said this. If you need doctor's help, you go and you get that help. The brain has the power to be rewired. How many of you knew that? And let me show you
I
why.
do.
And what do you believe about that, Trish? The brain having the ability to be rewired.
I believe it has the ability to be rewired because, first of all, I'm living proof of that. I had to change my mindset on certain things. That's how I see what rewired means, reprogram, that sort of thing. And I had to access the way that I think and just switch around, make new habits for my thoughts, think new things. Like the video was talking about how our thoughts really prove and like motion our lives because that's how we think, but just reprogramming and rewiring how we think, it helps us to navigate through life. So that's what I think about rewiring.
Yeah. How many times, thank you for that, how many times have we, and this is in everyday life, have we put on an outfit or we're going to wear an outfit and then we change our mind in a split second? How many times do you think you've done that? Has it been too many times to count? Or never done that? Why am I asking that? Because it shows you how quickly our brain can change. You know, I've had a whole outfit that I wanted to wear, and you go outside and I go, this doesn't look right. Or before leaving the house, this doesn't look right. Or it doesn't feel right. Why am I saying that? Because it just shows you how you can change your mind. Changing your mind is a choice. Did you know that? Because remember how I tell you about the toolkit of your brain and how powerful your brain is? Your brain is the foundation for many doors to be open when you think about it. We have to do a lot of thinking in our thoughts to be able to change, to be able to focus, to be able to build pathways. And our brain is constantly thinking. That's why I like a lot of interactive things because your brain starts thinking, and as you think about whatever it is that you spend most of your time thinking about, you have an outlet of people that come in and or comment, and they change the way they feel because they've heard you, and maybe something that you say impresses someone or impacts someone, that they may change their life just because of something that was said. How many times has that happened? Or has that happened? So refocusing, rewiring the brain from negative to positive. And I'm going to only give you guys what you know. This podcast is all about you helping yourself. And we're going to really try to help you to understand that. You have a right to choose however you want to. There's a lot of negativity in the world today. So negative that there's a lot of negative Nancys out there. And what they do is they may feel their life is not going right, and you're happy over here in your own spot, in your own lane, and they come to your lane and they're upset and they're negative. Does it affect you? Again, the question is your thinking having impact? Or does your thinking have an impact on your life? Pretty soon, negative Nancy is going to be able to start changing your mind. How so? Because you're a positive person. If you're allowing that to come, remember we're moving from choice to allowing. And these are the two key words I want you to understand about the podcast today. If you do not feel like you don't want to answer questions or be positive, then your mind is allowing you to feel the way negative Nancy has made you feel. Okay, negative Nancy could be he or she, okay, or they. Okay? And so you as the positive person, that begins to impact you in a negative way. How so? Because you as the positive person, that negativity has impacted you so much that every time you see or hear those negative Nancys, you feel like you want to not be involved in that. Why? Because you want to protect your own peace, your own sanity, your own way of thinking. So think about the patterns in your life. Could it be that you can again choose how you want to think about things, how you deal with negative thoughts? And I'm sure we've all run into that. We've all ran into people who were negative. Every time we talk to them, their mission is negativity, as if they cannot be helped. Now, we just demonstrated to you that our brain can change, or has the power. Your brain can change and has the power to do that. So when we think about our actions, can we ask ourselves these questions? What do you think? What do you think? And whatever you think is what you do. The body will send signals to the powerful brain to tell your brain either you want to do this or you want to do that. Okay? So when you are thinking and your actions are being shaped, think of it as a goal. What do you want to do? Do you want to build and strengthen? Or do you want to tear down and destroy? What shapes you? You know, it's like, and I'm going to use human terms that only you and I understand because we're familiarizing ourselves with it. Legos. Reminds me of Legos. Now, if I gave a group of kids some Legos, we're going to start at 5. 5 is always the primary age because by now their brains have developed. They're pretty smart. I call them little minds. because they have so many beautiful ways that they do things. So I'm going to put out Legos and I put them on the table. And I don't say anything. What do you think their brains are going to tell them to do with those Legos? Trish, we're going to start with you.
I think their brains are gonna tell them to play with them.
Uh-huh. See our brains? And then what's the next action? Our next action is to build something. Do you see the connection there? What our brain shapes us into doing. So you've got a group of kids, one person is going to follow suit, start building things. Maybe that somebody's going to build an airplane, a car, a tree. And I'm using Legos because it's a really good interplay with Legos. And I'm going to try that in our adult workshops. But you won't know unless you follow us and hear our shows. So, what is the analogy of the Lego playing? Is that each one can learn to build something from it. And what do we learn? Our mindsets can build and strengthen us. I've watched children play, and you don't have to tell them, okay, let's build, because they already know. Lego Company has done a brilliant job in getting the message that you could build anything. If you've ever been to Legoland, if you've ever been to any of the Lego places, they have Lego outlets, you are simply amazed. Let's talk about that for a moment, because with Legos, they have different colors, they have different pieces, they have sets of anything that you want, you name it. And we talk from childhood, because I want you to understand where some of our negative thinking can come from. Not always, but it starts there. So what do? We take these Legos and we start to build on these Legos, and they say, look what I've done. And I say, oh, you made this. And they'll tell you, this is what this is, a car, a house. I never knew there were so many things you could do with Legos, but see, the significance of that is that you could build on your strength, shaping your actions. And I think that's a perfect analogy, because that is exactly what Legos do. When you start to form things, I don't know what those little snap-on things are going to do, but in time, children will make their shape and put them into action to be able to build. And if it falls off, they make sure that it's sturdy. It's amazing. So are we like that? Are we building our thoughts where they're going to shape into positive action? They're going to be resilient, because kids know. They know when their Legos compartments aren't fully connected, and they'll make sure everything is tight. I've seen so many kids build so much. In fact, I would like to do something like put a group of 5-year-olds versus a group of adults to see who comes up with what. So what am I saying in this message? Thinking is impactful. We don't do in here what is called empty thinking, where we throw all our thoughts out the window. I want you to be thinking people. I don't want anybody to overtake your mind. That's not what we do here. We think for ourselves. And that's what I want you to do, is shape your thoughts into positive actions that build strength and resilience for you. So, how are you going to shape your thoughts? How are you going to gain control of how you think? Let's talk about this for a moment. Have you ever asked yourself, wow, how powerful your thinking can be? Think about people that have been in major injuries, and the doctor may tell them they'll never walk again. In some cases, I said some, not all, and their willpower says, So they do what? They shape their thoughts into action, and they say, I'm going to do therapy. I'm going to do this rehabbing. I'm going to get the body in shape. So what do they do? Because, a lot of people may not come back from a critical accident, but those who have are testimony to what I'm saying right now. That because they thought that, they didn't only lay there and think that, they followed. Did you get it? Following by action, letting that word shape you. It's very powerful, because when our thoughts are powerful, it affects us emotionally. It affects our reality, our behavior. So our thoughts are very powerful. We think about the impact and what it has done for us. Sometimes our lives are very stressful, and some of us get high blood pressure. That's one way of looking at something, but blood pressure does not have to mean that we get it because of stress only. There are other factors, but we're no doctors. So we know that we're affected by our thoughts. Now, we can change our mind. We can use it to be able to give ourselves permission to get better. Our thoughts are very powerful, and our thoughts are able to shape the way we think and feel and act. Your brain, remember what I said, in everybody's toolkit is the power of your brain. If you've been with me long enough, the brain. Those people that the doctor said would never walk again, their brain said, I'm going to walk. I'm going to do this. I need to do this. And maybe their odds may have changed, but there's somebody out there somewhere that says, no, I'm going to try. So they strengthen themselves. They go through steps to do that. You must go through the step to be able to impact your thoughts. Not just laying there thinking, oh yeah, I'll get better, but doing something in action. Your brain really transmits information through your nervous system, and it does affect what you think. We think about thought, and boy, do we have a lot of thoughts. You know, when we think about stress, all of us have stress. There's nobody here that doesn't have stress. We get a spike, and our heart rate begins to spike upwards when we're stressed out, right? But we have to strengthen our ways to the doorway and pathway to healing. When we are repeatedly saying to ourselves that we can get better, that will impact our life. And maybe you didn't get better from learning how to walk again. But because you were positive, you started to take positive measures. You started to adjust to the things that you needed to be more thoughtful about. Maybe you're in a wheelchair. Maybe you're bedridden. But it doesn't change the you that you are, because you have affected so many lives. That's one scenario. The brain is so powerful, it is able to filter out what happens to you on a daily basis. I'm going to say that again. Come a little closer. The brain is so powerful that it is able to filter out what you have experienced on a daily basis. Because what if your mind-body system decided that you're going to think about every stress that you've ever had? What do you think would happen, Trish?
I think it'll spiral out of control.
You're absolutely right. So, what I want you guys to know about the impact of your thoughts is you can become those thoughts or not. And that's negatively and positively speaking. Our thoughts are very powerful. Every thought that you've ever thought about, it influences how you feel. Every thought that you've ever thought about influences how you feel, how you behave. You know, we get a response. When the body rewires itself, you think about things, maybe habits, maybe there is something that happened to you that was not a good thing, and your brain goes back to that. You can get better. Our brain is so powerful that it can tell us when we feel good, when we're stressed. Some people that have thoughts, they have thought about things that have happened. When you go back in your lifetime, you were shaped by what you were taught. But then too, you get to filter out, isn't it a loving thing that you get to be older and you're deciding what is right for you along with the information that your parents gave you, you start to, your body, what it does is it's shaped by every thought. You know what the body does. You are given many opportunities. You can begin to actively look for what supports your brain, not just somebody giving it to you and you just believe it. I want you to think about positive thinking. Is it possible for all you negative Nancys? Is it possible to think positively? Well, what about the people that are told that they would never walk again? Remember how I told you that? Does it mean that every person ever told that would never walk again? Or has walked? Think about that. But your brain did something. Your brain gives you a sense of hope. You're hoping that you can think about solutions. You can be resilient. You can come back. Our brains are very impactful. It can do all sorts of things. Like those Legos and the shapes, colors, the build. Kids get a positive. I don't know one kid who does not like Legos. I've not met one yet. What am I saying? Let your life and its outlook be like those Legos. Being able to filter out your life's challenges. You're being able to be resilient. You're being able to use what you have with what you've got. Use what you have with what you've gotten. And then what about that hope? That hope is going to give you confidence toward your personal strength. Confidence in how you feel and how you're focused. Gratitude that are impactful in raising your self-esteem and your self-worth. Yes, it does affect us very powerfully. Today's podcast is, does your thoughts impact you? And I want to talk to you about your realization of it. Not just because you're hearing me talk, but I want you to be able to look at it and say, wow, that's so amazing. Your brain has the ability to think however you want. I want you to think about the changes in your life. Changes you've made, changes you are making, and changes that you will continue to make. It is so beautiful, the brain. And I want you to think about that. Here's what someone said from this research. If you concentrate and hold on to one thought for a long time, you can see miraculous results. And sometimes people don't even think about that. You know, when someone reads a book, did you know that the body is telling the mind how to react to what you've just read? How many of you have ever read a sad story? And as you're reading, you tear up. Has that ever happened to anyone?
I have.
Yeah. Why do you do that? Why do you think you do that?
Because I'm feeling what I'm reading, so I feel the sadness in the book, so that's why I reacted that way.
Yeah. You're affected. It's impacting you. So, and this is another good lesson too for what we're taking in. Sometimes people don't realize what has affected them. Maybe you've gotten into an argument with someone, your mate, your other family members. So you're going to react most of the time to what you did the last thing before you went to sleep. Do you think it's affecting your sleep? Yeah, subconsciously. What about mind over matter? How does that work? You know, we can do an experiment. Uh, and this experiment is to stand if you can. And I want you to raise your dominant arm horizontally. Raise your dominant arm. Ready? And then I want you to say in your dominant arm, as you raise that, I'm weak, unworthy, 10 times. Ready? We're going to say it in our mind while holding your arm up. Now I want you to push your arm down with the other hand as you resist the force that's being on there. Now I want you to switch with the weakest hand and say, I am powerful and worthy. With your weakest hand, I am powerful and worthy. If you've done that, I want to know how your experience went. Because you know what? Whatever our mind tells us, that's what we're going to do. Not in every case, but if we've said it enough times, that's what's going to happen to us. You know, you say you're dumb, ugly, fat, and you say that enough, or someone said that to you enough, what does your brain begin to do?
Believe it.
What did you say, Trish? I'm sorry.
I said it's going to start to believe it.
Yeah, that part. That part. So, as we know, we need connection to understand that we are powerfully impacted. We'll be right back with Trisha's Treasures. Right back. Did you know that you could get a CD for my Men's Emotions workshop? Available now. and only from Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. Get your music now. We're back with Trish's Treasures. Trish?
Since we're talking about thinking and our minds, I've been at work and a lot of thinking there is involved. I've been teaching a history class and a math class, and I was so excited in 6th grade and 7th grade in those, and I'm just so thrilled to teach that because history and math and English, those are my 3 favorite subjects. So I'm so excited to help them. And one particular thing that they had trouble with is turning a mixed fraction into a decimal. For example, like 5 1/4. That's a mixed fraction. It has a whole number in front of a fraction. So I have been teaching them how to do that. And sometimes when you teach, you have to do it in scenarios. You have to speak their language. So that day, it was canteen day, meaning they bought things like candy and they're selling that at the school, and the kids, they go to the stands and they buy the candy and the nachos and the pickles, the drinks, that sort of thing. So in my mind, I said, what will make them understand this? Money. They'll make them understand. So the fraction was 9 1/4. So I asked them, I said, how do you turn this into a mixed fraction? They looked at me confused. I said, it's okay. I'm going to help you out. So I told them that there are 2 ways to do it, which is division, dividing it, turning it into an improper fraction, and then dividing it, and it will become a decimal, that sort of thing, and the easy way. So I told them that let's separate the 9 from the 1/4. We have $9. That's what I told them. They're like, oh, they got so excited. They got so excited about it, and it made me excited too to teach them. So they got excited. I said, we have $9, and I said we have change left because it's 1/4. And so I told them, what is 1/4 as a decimal? So they solved it and they said 0.25. I said, that's correct. Now I said, we got to put our change together. So that makes us have what? And they all said $9.25. So that will be 9 1/4 as a decimal. And I say all that to say sometimes we have to speak our language to ourselves and our mindset, rewire how we speak to ourselves as well, because I had to learn that as well while rewiring and changing my mindset. Because as we talked about before we got to Trisha's Treasures, is if someone says something so many times, you start to believe it. And I've been there. That's why I answered it, because I know that feeling. Someone saying you're not good enough, and you start to believe it and you carry it until you decide to stop carrying that thought and treat yourself with grace and actually see how you really feel about you. How do you really think about yourself? Because other people's thoughts, it's great sometimes when it validates you, when it helps you, but what we always talk about in Vibe Talk is it's about you, the person you see in the mirror, the person that you wake up and be. So in closing, think about who you are. Think about if you want to change your mindset, because we can't tell you what to do. But that's why we have Think About Thursday. It's for you to think about. And to answer the Vibe Talk question, the question that I was, the question that we had was, what song goes with our mood? I think that's the question. And I chose two songs. I chose Overjoyed by Stevie Wonder, and I also chose Where Will My Life Begin by Tangled, sung by Mandy Moore. So those are my two songs. Thank you.
You want more of Trisha's treasures? Trisha's treasures can be found with Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. See her there. Thank you, Trish. It has been long. It has been long. Workshop. My mom passed away. And I need you guys to know that because I need some time to be able to just regroup. My mom has been fighting sometime, although very quiet, about certain things. My mother truly was a fighter. And it is through her that I dedicate this show to because of the impact of our thoughts. She did not become what she had. And when the body gives out and says, I'm tired, what you have left is someone who has impacted your life, not just on a level of mom, children, but on a level of to show you what a person can do in their mind. And I will always be grateful. I miss her terribly. I want to thank everybody for your cards, your prayers, people who have set up with me. I'm not over the hump yet, but I do believe I can fly again. And I will fly. And it's taking a long time because it's only been, a week. And I'm getting through it. And I feel that my Vibe Talk audience needs to know and understand. Sending condolences, people have done that. But you really don't know until you have lost your parents. And so I'm in a phase of where it's surreal to me. I know it happened, but it's, I get up and every day my mood is different. I just thank everyone who's came out of genuine sincerity. Sometimes you just have to be in your quiet thoughts. It's important to think thoughtfully. It's important that we talk about things. And I'd be remiss about us being impacted because we are. You've known someone your whole life. Your mom, we're talking about. There's no worse feeling. I don't know what it's like to lose a child. My mom went through that with my oldest brother. And I wish that I could carry her pain. And then this happened, and you think it's going to be, people are getting better, and it doesn't happen. That's why I said what I said about just because a person thinks that doesn't mean that it'll come true. God, how I wish it were something that every person who thought I'm going to get better really got better, but it's the mental attitude. And my mom had that going for her. If you see me, then that's where I come from. And I thank her for the fight that she's put in me. And I'm going to dedicate this to her today. And I wanted my Vibe Talk people to know that that's what I've been dealing with. Just so that you guys know the power of our thoughts, their impact. When I look at my mom, I think about, the first time she went in the hospital, 30 days in the hospital. She's a fighter. She will always be a fighter to me. And she is the reason that I am today. And in her honor, I want to dedicate this show about the power of the mind. And no matter what happens, keep fighting. You are not, and I won't, like I say, I am not my wounds. You are not. The little thing we just did was just an experiment to show what our body reacts to. None of you are unworthy. None of you are undeserving. It's working through, so I'm going to work through my pain. Every day is a day for healing, and that's what I'm working on. So please be patient with me. For those of you who are listening, please stay patient with us. We try to be real and upfront. It's just left a very big hole in my heart because I didn't, I've had friends that have lost their moms and dads, but I didn't really know what that felt like until now. And that's why talking about emotional health, mental health is so important, because we think, oh, that doesn't affect us, but it does affect us. It does. So every day I'm fighting, and that's what you guys need to know. Thank you, Trish, for all that you do. Thank you around the world. We're going to get there. And I'm doing what my mom knows I should be doing. And she would tell me, if she were alive, to be able to fight, to not give up. So you are not, even if you're fighting some illness right now, you are not that illness. When people say you have succumbed because of that, it's as a result, not because you are this, whatever you're dealing with today. So we're asking at this time to just be patient with us. And thank you for all of your support. We're going to talk about the workshop. Oh my goodness. Trish, you and I will have a meeting next week about it. We're not releasing it just yet. The book, Men and Their Emotions That Steal Unself. If you want to donate toward this program to make more podcasts, to keep up the healing center, you may donate. Also, we have a whole CD with music in mind. And by the way, we have over 800 and something likes. So if you like it, it's available for you to buy. Just ask me how, and you shall get it. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Trish. Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. We'll see you soon.